Formula One, also called F1 in short, is an international auto racing sport. F1 is the highest level of single-seat, open-wheel, and open-cockpit professional motor racing contests. Formula One is the world's most prestigious motorsport championship. In this guide, we'll cover everything you need to know about F1 rules and regulations. Firstly, let's talk about the basics. Formula One is a racing series that is based on a set of technical and sporting regulations that are agreed upon by all teams and the FIA, Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile, the governing body of motorsport. These regulations are designed to ensure that all teams are operating on a level playing field and that safety is always paramount. The technical regulations cover everything from the size and weight of the cars to the engines and electronics that power them. The sporting regulations cover how the race weekend is structured, how the cars are raced, and what penalties can be imposed for rule infractions. A series of Formula One races are conducted over a period of time, usually over a year, called the Formula One World Championship season. Each race in a season is called a Grand Prix, or GP, and all the races in a season combined are called Grand Prix, plural of Grand Prix. Formula One racing originates during the 1920s to 30s in Europe from other similar racing competitions. In 1946, the FIA standardized racing rules, and this formed the basis of Formula One racing. The cars must be no wider than 2 meters and no heavier than 740 kg, including the driver. The engine is limited to a maximum of 1.6 liters and must use a hybrid powertrain, which consists of a turbocharged internal combustion engine and an electric motor. Another important aspect of the technical regulations is the aerodynamics of the car. The regulations limit the amount of downforce that can be generated by the car, which helps to prevent the cars from becoming too fast and dangerous. The cars are also fitted with a number of safety features, such as roll cages, fire extinguishers, and a fuel cutoff system. Moving on to the sporting regulations, the race weekend is split into 3 main parts: practice, qualifying, and the race itself. During practice sessions, drivers have the opportunity to get familiar with the track and make any necessary adjustments to their car setup. Qualifying is used to determine the starting grid from the race, with the fastest driver starting from pole position. During the race, there are a number of rules that must be followed. For example, drivers must stay within the white lines that mark the edge of the track, and they must not impede other drivers or change direction excessively when defending their position. Finally, let's talk about penalties. If a driver or team is found to be in breach of the rules, they may be given a penalty. Penalties can range from a simple warning to a drive-through penalty, where the driver must enter the pit lane and drive through it without stopping, a time penalty, where a certain amount of time is added to the driver's overall race time, or even disqualification from the race. Every F1 car is composed of 2 main components, the chassis and the engine. Chassis. Formula One cars these days are made from carbon fiber and ultra-lightweight components. The weight must not be less than 702 kilograms or 1,548 pounds, including the driver and tires, but excluding the fuel. The dimensions of a Formula One car must be maximum 180 centimeters width by 95 centimeter height. There is no specified number for maximum length, but all cars tend to be of almost the same length. Engine. According to regulation changes in 2014, all F1 cars must deploy 1.6-liter turbocharged V6 engines. Gearbox. Semi-automatic sequential carbon titanium gearboxes are used by F1 cars presently, with 8 forward gears and 1 reverse gear with rear-wheel drive. Steering wheel. The steering wheel of an F1 car is equipped to perform many functions like changing gears, changing brake pressure, calling the radio, fuel adjustment, and so on. Fuel. The fuel used by Formula One cars is a tightly controlled mixture of ordinary petrol and can only contain commercial gasoline compounds rather than alcohol compounds. Tires. Formula One cars have been using smooth tread, slick tires since 2009. The tire dimensions of an F1 car are: front tire 245 mm, rear tires 355 mm and 380 mm. Brakes. Formula One cars use disc brakes with a rotor and caliper at each tire. Speed and performance. All F1 cars can accelerate from 0 to 100 mph and decelerate back to 0 in under 5 seconds. F1 cars have reached top speeds of about 300 km per hour or 185 mph on an average. However, some cars, without fully complying with F1 standards, have attained speed of 400 kmph or more. These numbers are mostly same for all F1 cars, but slight variations may be there due to the gears and aerodynamics configuration. Formula One safety gear. Safety is high priority in motorsports. Formula One has seen many tragedies in its early days, with many casualties that included drivers and spectators as cars crashed at high speeds. Helmets. Helmets are compulsory in F1 races. Their build is very strong and light so that it doesn't add extra weight on driver's head at high speeds. These are fire resistant also. HANS. HANS stands for head and neck support. The purpose of HANS is to protect the driver vertebrae and collision of head to the steering wheel in case of an accident. It is built using carbon fiber material and is attached to the seat belt in the cockpit. It is coupled with elastic straps. HANS was inducted by FIA after a major collision in 1995 Australian GP. Clothing. The clothing of F1 drivers is designed to protect them from fire accidents in case of crash. It is a multi-layered suit that matches specifications of NASA. Nomex is the latest fiber material brand used to build suits for F1 drivers. The suit undergoes thermal testing. It is fire-resistant and lightweight. This allows the pit crew to pull the driver out in one piece with a seat during a crash to reduce injuries. Nomex fiber can survive temperatures up to 700 to 800 degrees Celsius for more than 10 seconds. A Formula One race starts with a warm-up lap called the formation lap, and the pit lanes are open for this purpose 30 minutes before the actual race begins. Pit lanes are tracks away from the grid and are parallel to the start-finish line. During this time, the drivers are free to take any number of warm-up drives without actually going on the grid. After the pit lane closes, the drivers must take their places on the grid in the qualifying order. Once all the cars have taken their positions on the grid, the race begins with the starting lights, 10 red lights and 5 pairs of columns. The drivers who finish at first, second, and third positions at the end of the race stand on a podium and are awarded trophies. A constructor's trophy is also presented to the winner's team. The length of the race must be 305 kilometers. The duration of the race cannot be more than 2 hours. If the allocated time of 2 hours is exceeded, the race is considered to be finished at the end of the ongoing lap. The present system of Formula One World Championship point scoring was adopted in 2010 and has been continuing since. According to this system, the top 10 drivers at the end of each Grand Prix will receive points based on the positions they finished, and these points will contribute toward determining both the World Drivers and World Constructors Championships at the end of the season.